So the idea is that we're going to use these cards and these speculative questions to create a little debate on the topic of climate change and how we deal with it in our lives. We want to do a first round where you just have sort of kind of a discussion about the question that is on the cards, and then if that kind of, depending on how that works out, I think we could do another round where we kind of use the question as a starting point for kind of imagining a different world. So how about you just roll one? Do you want to read it out?
What if it was a status symbol to actively choose a limited life?
So if that would be the status symbol, to like do nothing, then I think that would have a huge impact.
Yeah, basically our discussion circled around, on the one hand, status symbol, and on the other hand, the term limited life. I mean, we thought that in certain circles, at least small circles, I would say it already is considered a status symbol to strive for, like a disconnect to this kind of world, unsustainable world.
Yeah.
But then we kind of talked a lot about the limited life as well, and what is actually meant by that, because it's a negatively framed term, limited. And then we discussed that what is probably meant by it, aside from living a more sustainable life, is really actually limiting and something that you cannot replace through a sustainable alternative. Let's say you brought up the example of traveling with, airplanes, for example, and then if it actually means that you cannot travel as far because going by foot to India takes you longer, then you would actually give something up and it would actually really limit you. And if it's that, what is meant by that?
What if Earth was a precious diamond? Yeah, I think we've also looked at the reason why they chose diamond and the fact that we see diamonds as precious and valuable. And the fact that you can grow diamonds in the lab now, you can synthetically create diamonds, is that what it's meant? As in, we can synthetically create a new world, and at the same time a diamond's only precious once it's carved. So are we saying we have to shape the earth as man to affect the way we live in it?
Oh yeah, I think that's a very good one. What if you were forced to change?
That's an awesome question. That in order to curb climate change, you actually need to be forced to change. You need to remove unsustainable options for people.
I think it's necessary because the system that we live in doesn't provide, like the platforms or the system we work in. A key part of it is consumption, for example, and then if it's not forced to change, then that's. But we've already kind of been forced to live in this system, so we're already forced to work within something anyway.
Sure, but you do need a carrot and stick approach. You can't just force people through legislative means. You can force people through encourage them in positive means.
You know the old relationship wisdom of people don't change. I think people don't change, right? You all know that from when you have troubles with your partner and you're expecting your partner to fundamentally change, and and there's people saying that it's not going to happen. I think that's true to a degree. That people are not able to change by themselves significantly unless there is an outside force helping with that.
But wouldn't it be an alternative to kind of stir inside? I mean, to actually give people some inspiration to go into introspective and then really want the right things, instead of you forcing them to do it, like sending people out into nature for a couple of months.
You want to very briefly just outline what you thought about the experience?
Yeah. I think it worked very well. I think the prompts are sort of very spot on. I think it helped that people had some context knowledge about what the basic premise was, and that was about climate change, because otherwise you could also easily interpret questions in different ways. Of course, I mean, the dialogue gets sort of very fact-oriented and based in empirical reality rather than being more speculative or more imaginative. But I definitely think there was that element was definitely there, and I think it would be interesting to see if sort of additional methodologies or something could help to channel that energy even more, drawing something, building something, role-playing, I don't know, like get people out of this kind of, I mean, we're still sitting around the table and having a nice discussion kind of, that's still a very traditional format. That's not a debate I have with my colleagues every day, so that's also very interesting to hear where they are and what they think. That's in the workplace where we're still fairly close to these kinds of issues, so even there we don't talk as much in depth about an issue like climate change.